And then YouTube was
Same.
my creative outlet.
Same.
So I would go to YouTube and I would like, okay, let me learn how to do this. There was a national video competition for the Boy Scouts. I used to be a Boy Scout. And so I was eighth grade and I was like, well, you know what? I want to try it. So I ended up getting second place nationally. And then next year they had another one. It was like, make a commercial for the Boy Scouts. And I did, made it, and I won. So that was my first venture into, holy shit, I can do something.
We are the
Get Reelisms Podcast.
I am Adam Chase Ready.
And I am Christine Chen. And surprise, we're both filmmakers.
We get into it by sharing secrets, advice, and gossip in filmmaking.
And we even get our other filmmaking friends to share theirs too.
So please, everybody, join us for
an ode to filmmaking.
Welcome to the Get Reelisms Podcast, episode 162 of the Get Reelisms Podcast. My name is Adam Chase Rani.
And I'm still Christine Chen, and we have an awesome special guest today. Rylan, can you introduce yourself and what you do and what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah. First off, let me go live with you on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. We're on here.
Rylan's here now, everybody.
Everyone's,
Right.
yeah, I know. Let's see. Do I need to get this closer? Hold on.
You looking good, man.
There we go. Closer eye line.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm Rylan Tuohy. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Yes.
What my intro was? Yeah,
Yes.
no, I write for TV and direct for commercials, and sometimes I get to do fun projects like this and raise six figures to make an awesome video.
Yes. So tell us about it. It's called Big Deck. Big Decks. And
Yes,
tell us how you came to be with this. Do a 2-line blurb of what it is and how you were inspired to make it.
Yeah, there's a cultural tradition around the annual Army versus Navy football game called Spirit Spots, and I've made them for the last decade. When I was in the Navy, I used to be in the Navy. I got out of the Navy 3 years ago. I hadn't made one since, and I thought might as well rein in a new era of Spirit Spots by making one that's bigger, better, and more epic, and that is Big Decks.
And you managed to raise how much on Kickstarter to make this awesome? How long is the video?
The video is 2 minutes and 16 seconds because obviously every second is precious. It was sitting at the first edit was like 3:20, and we're like, no, we need to get this down. We ended up raising total 115,000.
When did you start writing this script, Big Decks?
I had the idea years ago when I was still active duty. I knew though the Navy would never let me make it. Obviously, Big Decks is double entendre, but it's not too far of a reach because there is actually the term for the big ships in the Navy as like, oh, are you on a big deck? Yeah, I'm on a big deck, right? You have a small boy in a big deck. That is common terminology. So all I was doing was taking that like cultural term and having fun with that. I got the idea probably three and a half years ago, but the version that we currently see, I started writing in April of 20. Started writing that version, and it had gone through multiple iterations. So about a year and a half of writing on it.
I loved the script when I first got it. So just a little bit of context. I'm involved in it because I read the script. I am a first AD on it, and I play a very tiny role in the film itself as well. That was from your experience doing your previous spots and this one. What did you learn, and what was the coolest part about it, and was everything that you wanted it to be?
Biggest crew that I had previously on any of these like specific Spirit Spot projects crew was probably 3. And
Yes.
so now that this project
Wow.
afforded 70 cast and crew, talk about just incredible and truly humbled that we were able to like support that, A, from like a job perspective, and then B, just from the support, right? Going in, for those watching, I didn't go from like a 3 crew, no budget Spirit Spots to Big Decks. I've been fortunate for the last 3 years to do a number of commercials. I second unit directed for the USAA Rob Gronkowski commercials. So I directed all of their social content. which was a good tiptoe into the world of managing a crew. And mainly on those projects, it's okay, a unit wraps. Okay, Rylan, you have 7 minutes to get 7 social spots. And so they're like, everyone's at your disposal, but also nobody wants to listen to you because they're like, who is this 1-year-old who looks like a 24-year-old? So so what I'll say though is that I was able to like wade into the water of directing bigger projects slowly. And so for that, I'm incredibly grateful. But with Big Deck specifically, it was truly my first opportunity to helmet from the get-go. And I think for me, that was just great exposure from more of a standard like industry experience, right? Because so many of the crew I met day one, right? Christine, you and I started talking, what was it, like a week and a half before?
Yeah, before the thing, yeah.
And
It's
thank God
crazy
we
though. You
didn't hate each other.
No, I had a blast. And I would like to say that on the trailer, I came up with one of the shots that I love very much, that you also love. So it was fun. I had so much fun. I think one of the biggest things why it was like a definite yes is our careers actually are very similar. I went to business school, didn't go to the Navy, but I started learning the craft of filmmaking through making YouTube shorts, basically, about going to business school. You made spoof spots for going to the Navy. And so much of our career has been very similar in terms of us all being self-taught and learning by making funny shit, making fun of our associated universities. So that I really respected, because a lot of people on this podcast know that is how I learned to write. That is how I learned to direct, because prior to that, I had only done documentaries, and that's how I knew how to shoot. So when did you first pick up? Were you always making stuff prior to the Navy and shooting things on your own? Is that like how you got into filmmaking in general?
It was, so I was, I think it's a very common story. I grew up, was the third kid of 4, and the older brother would take the home video camera and like we would direct our own stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was usually acting in front, right? Because I wasn't allowed to or really we weren't allowed to watch TV growing up. My parents were like, get out of the house, go do something. And I think that instilled a sense of creativity. But I would like, my favorite things to make were like magic things, only because it was like you
Camera
jump
tricks.
and then you cut and then you right? And then you move it out, and whenever you show it for the family, everybody would act and be like, wow. But really it came down to, there's a national video competition. I grew up in rural Kentucky, so I had really no outlet from a creative perspective. So I was making it all on my own, and then YouTube was my creative outlet. So I would go to YouTube and I would like, okay, let me learn how to do this. But there was a national video competition for the Boy Scouts. I used to be a Boy Scout. And so I was 8th grade, and I was like, you know what? I want to try it. So I made it, ended up getting 2nd place nationally. And then next year they had another one. It was like, make a commercial for the Boy Scouts. And I made it, and I won. So that was my first venture into, holy shit, I can do something. And at the same time, I was connected in this very niche community of filmmakers in Western Kentucky. But as it came, I was like, okay, is my path going to be film school, or is it going to be potentially something else? It boiled down for me, I wanted a technical degree to fall back on, because I knew
Me too.
how subjective a career in the arts could be. And point blank, if I was a shitty director, a shitty writer, I didn't want to be like, okay, I have nothing else to fall back on. I was always science minded. And so what was the seller for me was to pursue applied physics, because in my mind, I could study optical physics and then, let's say, work at Panavision or work at some sort of lens company, right? In my mind, that was like, okay, let me go to the Naval Academy and study applied physics. I also, at that time, was like, okay, I will relinquish my filmmaking hobbies for a couple of years so I can go do this military thing. I think that was the best gift ever, because when I showed up, I found that I was one of the only few creatives in a science-minded, very disciplined world who wanted to do something different. And it carved out this unique niche, which I didn't realize at the time, but that was the first Spirit video, which was my film school. And I would make these projects on the weekend and with friends. And some of the projects that you see on YouTube, we filmed it at 11 p.m. I edited it to and released it by 5 a.m.
Yes.
That was how quick that we were just like, And
Yeah.
it was no second thought. It was like, let me just turn it out because this is what we're doing. And that was my crash course. And so I've never had any formal training. And same thing goes with writing. I've been fortunate to be a part of a couple fellowships and learn that way, but I never went to school. And I think for me, the one thing that's been helpful is I come into it, Christine, like you, Adam, like you, I come into it from a different perspective. Because I don't come from the film school world,
Yes.
my world is entirely different. And I think that lends to my vision or just approach, right?
Approach, yeah, dude, you're like your whole career is so similar to mine. It's just uncanny. It's
The hustler's
yeah,
mentality.
went into
Yeah.
crazy. I had no connections. Went I specifically did apply to UT because I was like, okay, at that point I knew I wanted to go into film, but I knew nothing about it. So I wanted 2 years where I could just do whatever, but also have a technical fallback. And so mine was business school instead of science. I also in undergrad was all science. But in business school at that point I already knew I wanted to do films, and my backup was if I need to start a production company, I need to know how to do marketing and all those technical things and accounting. So that's why I went to business school. But in business school I carved out a niche as well. I would pull in my classmates to make stuff, and it was the same thing on top of the classwork. It would be film something at 11 p.m., then edit it and then release it. And it was just like, never thinking about it. And it was really cool because we have in our business school, this like cohort area or like a common meeting area. And I would be in a corner, I'd just release it. And I was loved. One of my favorite things was nobody knowing that I was there and people freaking out about the video and passing it and laughing and everything. And I would be listening to like, how did the film do? So it's like in that cool instant gratification that you don't really get in traditional filmmaking. And the great thing I also am very thankful for is during that period, just like you, it was fast turnaround. So you could learn very fast what worked and didn't work. And yeah, shoot something, release it. Ooh, didn't get as many views. Why? Oh, too long. Okay, reshoot or do something else. Try a different kind of writing. That was the best film school, in my opinion. I mean, it seems like yours was the same way. And the great thing is you didn't have to pay anyone. It was just friends, doing stuff.
I can't agree with you more. It was a crash course. And
Crash course.
yeah, you're exactly right. It was like social engineering because I had no money, right?
Yeah,
And
no
I was
money.
just this scrappy kid making stuff. So when we would release something, I would say, okay, that didn't get hundreds of thousands of views. So
Like,
so
why?
you're like,
Yeah.
what went wrong? And so it's like shorter timing, release time, like
Yes,
Tuesdays
release
at 7
time.
p.m. on East Coast, best release time ever. And then so many other like variables that was so fascinating. And then not to mention, but I had a couple cyber nerd friends, a nerd in the best way possible, by the way. And they would send me reports on the videos. They would like, hey, I ran analytics on your video. It went viral because Ken Niumatalolo shared it on his Twitter at this such and such date, which is Ken was the prior football coach at Navy. So understanding those variables, it was really interesting to be a nerd when we were approaching so many of our video releases. And talking about YouTube then versus YouTube now,
Yeah.
the big decks just hit, I think, 105,000 views on Instagram, and it has roughly 25,000 views on YouTube, which is it is drastically different than when I was
It would've been
releasing
flipped.
content.
Yep.
100%. It was amazing how we were consuming YouTube versus how now we consume on Instagram. Because I think nowadays I'll look at YouTube and my old numbers, like I have a couple of videos that are over millions and then a couple that are 500,000 and in the hundreds of thousands. And I look at them, I'm like, that's crazy that has those types of numbers. But I think it was just an entirely different time.
Different time.
And I just have to remind myself that despite the view count perhaps being lower on YouTube, it's still being a success because other people are seeing it. And at the end of the day, that's what I want to happen, right? I want more people to see it. But it's taken me a moment to reframe that thinking because I grew up in the YouTube world.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I have to embrace the social media, which I'm like,
the
but,
change of it, yes. But I can validate how the things have changed because mine is the same stuff too. My older stuff have thousands of views that were that seemed so easy. I didn't have to do so much marketing back then, and would 100,000 views and stuff like that. But now I'm just lucky to get 5,000 views. I don't have the viewership or I stopped really focusing on YouTube when I sorry to go into traditional filmmaking as much, but you are absolutely correct. There's just more pay to play these days on YouTube. You have to pay for the advertisements and everything that go through, and then IG not as much. It's fascinating. I'm a huge marketing view nerd as well, so this is actually very funny that you were as well and had analytics and stuff like that. Yes, there has been a change, and you are absolutely correct. YouTube is just a lot harder to get those views, but it's amazing that you are getting those kinds of views on IG. And I think something that you touch upon that's extremely important, especially for self-made filmmakers, is being able to understand the value of marketing that comes into play when you have to do your own releases. And I think that's where we're trending right now. Even though it may not just be YouTube or Instagram, self-distribution is that. Right now, the industry is seeing a shift where they're having trouble selling their films. And a lot of it is because they don't know how to reach the markets, because whether it is a platform issue or a need for different kinds of marketing. But that's where folks that grew up with having to do their own marketing because they had no money have mastered or are mastering, or we're all still learning really, because it changes all the fucking time, but is being able to incorporate all of that into the package of the entire film, which is what I saw you do incredibly well with Big Decks, making sure that during that we were shooting the social stuff on the sides. There was BTS going on the whole time, BTS photography and everything. And I was like, damn, like he thought through marketing from the poster through the key arts to everything, like the trailer. You are essentially mimicking and expanding and improving on how traditional film is released, but from a self-distribution model, combining what you've learned through all over the years of what you've done on YouTube and what you traditionally see also through the years of film and cinema. But I think that's the coolest part, is that we've had to learn that ourselves, and that I think not enough filmmakers realize how important that bit is, and getting more and more important is building in the marketing. So
yeah, that's so true. I described this entire someone wrote to me and said that the video was not successful because it'll never be broadcast on TV and around the Army Navy game day. And
That's a little silly. Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting comment, and because previously my videos had been picked up and then broadcast on the game on CBS and stuff, which is great, right? It's a good validator, but it's not. That person thought that was my pure intention for this video. And he couldn't be further from the truth, because truly Big Decks for me was twofold. One was I am a part of that Navy community. Oh, by the way, Instagram just decided to put some balloons on me when I put the finger up.
Yeah.
I won't do any more
I noticed that.
gestures. And so on one front, I wanted to, I'm part of the Navy community. I wanted to make something that kind of rallied the community. And what better way to do that than the audience that I've been able to build over the last decade. But two, this was a test case for how to make shit on my own. Because for the last 3 years, as I've been tiptoeing into the TV and feature world, it's just incredible how much of a black box it is. And long story short, we could talk about this for days.
Oh gosh,
but
I could talk for days.
The packaging that's going on for projects to get made is unrealistic for us new filmmakers who are just trying to make And so the only way to do that is to build your own audience and to market it yourself and to push that out there. And granted, I was able to pull from a unique community to fund this video. If I were to do my own short film that's separate from this, I would dramatically have a more difficult time. And I will also say you're only as good as your second fundraise. So anybody can do it once, but it's a matter of if you can do it a second time. And as I see it now, I don't know what's in my future, but it is reassuring to have gone through this process as an experiment for how to get your stuff made. And I think I've learned so much through this process. You hit on it, right? From a marketing perspective to like doing the Kickstarter game for 30 days. That was
full-time job.
It is. And so somebody asked me, like, how much has Big Decks consumed of your time? And I was like, it has been everything, because that's the requirement. And
Yes.
I'm hopeful that this will lead to other opportunities, but this has been purely an experiment on how to make my own stuff. I went to see Gladiator 2 2 days ago,
Ooh.
and the trailers I was watching, I was like, how the hell have I not heard of any of these movies? This is making me excited, right? And granted, yes, it's like the award season, so all of the good stuff is coming out right now. But I was like thinking many of these come from humble beginnings. For example, like The Brutalist. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for The Brutalist. I've been
yet.
like
I have,
raving
yeah.
about it right now.
Yeah.
With Adrian Brody, and
Yeah.
apparently the budget was minuscule,
Mhm.
but it has epic proportions. If anybody hasn't seen the trailer for The Brutalist right now, go see it. I haven't even seen it. I don't know if it's good, but
It is.
from what I've heard
Yeah.
and read about, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Adam?
I have seen a trailer, yeah, of The Brutalist.
Okay,
and
okay.
it was almost like marketed as like an indie film. Like it didn't even feel like, oh, this was gonna, but apparently this was like a great like this did rave reviews in film festivals, I think. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
I'm
seeing it
now,
right
I
now.
just now heard about it like 2 days ago of that trailer. Yeah, that's always shocking to me to see the level of non-marketing for films that deserve all of the marketing. And then you see
Yeah.
every time I open up Instagram, there's 3 Netflix ads every single time. And it's just, what the fuck? So yeah, you're totally right, man. Yeah.
Yeah. All that to say, The Brutalist feels like it has humble beginnings, and
Yeah.
I'm sure I can't recall the director right now.
Bet.
Guarantee.
Brady
And say that it's not his
Corbett.
first. Like, he's been down this road before, but I think what I'm trying to say is like those filmmakers are the filmmakers that I think Christine, you, me, Adam aspire to be one day, and they have hustled through their own
Hustled.
projects, and that is the one thing this project has opened my eyes to, and hopefully been first check in the box for hopefully many more checks in the.
To interrupt is Brady Corbett. He directed Melancholia, 13. Yeah, those are the more well-known ones, 13 and Melancholia. So yeah. And then yeah, so The Brutalist came out this year, 2024. He's done a little bit of TV, The Crowded Room. But yeah, it's just lots of just hustling is what it is. Yeah. But no, I think that's
Absolutely.
this is the
yeah.
new wave of filmmakers I have this debate all the time with several friends, because so many of us go back and forth being like, we didn't want to be distributors, like we didn't actually want to run a full-on marketing agency, but like and I keep telling them like, yes, we don't want to, but we have to. Like it's not, we have to really lean into it and just accept the fact that is reality right now.
Right.
So, because I keep having this debate with friends who are like, oh, but I don't really want to have a distribution company, or that's not our goals at the beginning and everything. And I was like, I get it, but like all of us went to AFM recently, and that our biggest conclusion is if you fucking want to get anything that is not a horror film or a rom-com that doesn't have stars in it, you have to hustle and self-distribute it. That was our conclusion. Nobody wants to buy your drama film that has meaning. Like, it just doesn't. There's just, people want a sure deal. And from a corporate level, from a statistics level and stuff like that, people keep making the same shit because it does sell. But if you think of it, why does it sell? Because that's all that's available that people publicly know about, but it's adding to itself. So people are like, see, people are buying this stuff, so we have to keep making the same shit. We don't want to support the stuff that's like drama with no stars that have a deeper meaning or whatever, because there's no data that says that this stuff makes money. If there are no films that have a marketing budget that people can know about it, you keep adding to the problem. So the problem continues to grow worse and worse, where now we all care about making the next genre film or the next rom-com or whatever that sells. So you have to grow your own base. Like you said, you got to know how to market your own film. You need to be able to raise money based off of the base that you've built throughout the years of people who care and love and see your work and stuff like that, and partner with people who have just as much clout as you or are willing to just give it that little push type thing. It's both frustrating, but it's also, hey, at least we're aware. At least we're in the know. There's so many filmmakers out there that are not aware. They think that it's been because it's their first film. You can raise money for your first film because people are just excited that it's your first film. You make that, and then they're like, cool, so now it's going to get like millions of views, right? And nobody knows about it. Oh, they can't even get someone to buy it. which is like the worst.
Yeah. Two things that I've learned. One is don't be precious about your work. And what I mean by that is I think I have interacted with a number of people who they have their thing and they're very intense about the one thing. Let's say it's a writer or it's a director, and they are very precious. They take themselves very seriously. And at the end of the day, we are all creatives, we are all artists, but there has to be a certain component of reality that requires us to understand the landscape and ultimately get our stuff made. And I think not being precious with your work means there's a collaborative spirit at play about how can we best get this done. And Christine, you read a previous version of Big Decks. There were many things that were removed.
There were
from
many
the final.
changes. Yes.
Many changes. And it was very like, okay, cut it. Let's do it. Because it's what made sense for the project. It's what made sense for the audience. It what made like I wasn't sitting there being like, no, but I wrote these words at midnight in whatever. I don't know. That was me trying to be dramatic. I can't. So what I just mean is don't be precious with your work.
Right.
And write it, direct it, move on to the next. That I think I'm very fortunate to have learned a couple lessons to get me to this point where I'm like, okay, it's out there. It's on to the next, right? Then the other thing I'll say is that diversifying your skills is so important. I have aspirations to write and direct TV and film. And I am trying from a directorial perspective to continue directing my own work and other commercial projects and all that. But at the same time, I write for TV right now because it's an avenue to hopefully get into a room, which then allows me to hopefully direct and then allows me to maybe show run years down the road, right? Which then sets you up for the opportunity to leap over to the feature route or vice versa. Who knows, right? Many of my mentors, particularly one mentor, Billy Luther, I think 7 years ago, he's always been doing documentary work. 7 years ago, I think he started directing his own documentary work, and then he was staffed on Dark Winds, and then they knew he came from a directorial background, so who better to direct episodes than the person who wrote it? So he started directing, which then helped him build his network to then get funding for his first feature, which is Fried Bread Facing Me on Netflix, which was released by Ava DuVernay's company last year. And it's like one of the top native films on Netflix. And now he's already working on the next project. But that was because he was always saying yes and.
Yeah.
He was moving on. Any opportunity that came, sure, I'll write for TV. I've never done it. I'll learn it, right? And then now, okay, sure, I'll direct, yes. And then he had this passion project that he was building up his capacitor of resource to be able to go over and make the thing that he wanted to make. And I think that is what we have to do as creatives. We have to always be open to ideas. And I like same here, even though I directed that project, right? I'm still like, let me see, are there any photography gigs? Can I be a PA on anything? Because experience to me is education. Continue to rack this up and say yes to everything. I think has been really helpful for me.
Yeah, and it shows. I've AD'd a lot of people, and like the best directors, you're one of them, are people who are multi-tools. Having experience for multiple different roles gives you perspective on why each of those departments are important. And with that perspective, you not only know how to communicate what you want better to those departments because you've done those jobs, but you also know what it takes to make what you want happen. So you're more realistic and are able to work within the confines of your budget, time, limitations, which you will always have. No matter how big you are, you will always have budget and time limitations. And so you might as well learn right now when you're nobody, like we're both nobody and nobody's going to give us either. So that's the biggest thing, is knowing how to talk, how to communicate what you want, and to be very good with the vision. I actually watched a video a few days ago. Jeff Bezos talks about this. He said that you have to be very unwielding with your vision. However, how you get that to that vision, you have to be extremely flexible about it. And so as long as like what the end result should be-ish, everything else, you should listen and collaborate, because there might be things that add to it or will make your life easier getting to that final vision. But it's exactly what you're saying with like flexibility. I think the directors I have that get upset with me when I'm trying to help them is a lot of times, do you want to finish your film? Or does this scene, how it needs to be exactly in your mind the way we have to? Because I can tell you, if you want to get this particular scene exactly the way that you had envisioned it from day one, we're not going to finish your film. So you got to weigh the consequences. And usually that helps people understand, okay, all right, I'll work through it, whatever mental block I need to be okay with compromising for the greater good of the vision. We had to do that on set. Hey, public is coming in at 10. I'm sorry, we got to get this shot, or we're about to get all these bogeys coming in and there's nothing we can do.
It further emphasized the importance of pre-production.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
You go in and everybody needs to be aligned in the same vision. Yeah.
Fix it in.
Fix it in prep,
There you
folks.
go. Perfect.
Yes.
And it's funny, going back to what you're saying, Christine, and there are many times on big decks when, let's say our production designer or costuming would come in and they'd be like, do you want something? Like, it would be like, do you want, because I remember there's this one issue, right, where we had one of our cast should have been in a different uniform, but we were about to film her scene. And so she was like, I was like, we can't have this. She needs to be in this outfit.
Yes.
And okay, do you want to change that? And I sat there and I was like, my first question was, how long is it going to take?
Yep.
Right.
How long is it going to take?
And it was like, she said 10 minutes. And I think I turned to you and I was like, do we have 10 minutes? Because this is quite important. And you said yes, which thank you.
Yes, you have to choose your battles. So it's like, cool.
100%,
Now I
100%.
know 10 minutes. What can we shoot in this 10 minutes that doesn't involve that person? We can shoot some of these other things. Here, let's get some beer. Let's do a social spot. That's the beauty and the collaboration, I think, between, if you really understand what the job of an AD does and being able to talk through it and plan, because we can work around things like that. Because shit is always going to happen like that. No matter how much prep you do, things are still going to happen where something, because we're humans, everybody makes mistakes, and especially under immense pressure and stress, people will make more mistakes. What are the battles you have to fight because it's going to compromise the vision? Or what are the things that you can compromise that won't compromise the vision, that will help you move the ship along?
Amen.
Amen to that. Let's see, we've got perfect. Choose your battle. You said choose your battle is correct. Somebody said great spirit spot. US Loan 13. Beat Army. And then yeah, we had some spirit spots. But yeah, no, choose your battle is the 100% what you need to do.
I think it's interesting because I would imagine it would be the same for you, Rylan. It's the perfect opportunity, even for me, just like working in the film industry. You have to be a sponge. You just have to learn so many things and understand so many things, because if that means that, okay, if I can have access to this production and I do a good job, then people are going to look at that. But like, even by just being there by itself alone and learning through the mistakes and learning through, honestly, the best way I put it, like I was talking to somebody about like getting into the film industry. I first told them don't do it. And secondly, I said that the best way to do it is to just, you're going to find sets where you're going to scratch your head and you're going to wonder like, why are they doing it this way? Like that doesn't make any sense. I would do it X, Y, or Z or whatever. And then you realize that, oh, this person doesn't know, or they don't care, or they just are gonna just get through the fucking day because fuck it, it is what it is. So if anything, you, like I always say, learn the mistakes. Learn all of the mistakes, not just your own, but like through production, through it all, because one day you're going to probably run into those same problems and your Rolodex memory is just going to come firing off and go, oh, I know exactly what to do. Oh, I know to listen to the first AD. If they're going to say, oh, it's going to take 10 minutes. Okay, then let's fucking use every goddamn minute of those 10 minutes and shoot something, just shoot something. So yeah, I think that's a great little insight for even those who are just coming into the film industry. Yeah.
It's an even bigger insight. It's not just for directors. That's the thing. Like perspective should be for all departments. So if everybody has some sort of insight and perspective as to what another department is dealing with, then it's a collaborative effort to be able to design or do something that helps solve everybody's problems. And so that's why it's important, not just for the director to have all this insight, any other department, because when you're writing, for example, that's how you get your stuff made. Because if you write something that clearly is going to cost $10 million to make and it's your first script, good luck trying to get that script made because nobody knows who you are. And unless it's like Aliens or something amazing IP, like nobody's going to trust you yet until you have some sort of track record. So write that script that takes place in one house that has no VFX or whatever type thing. Don't write immediately your period script, sci-fi, or whatever, because if you have worked on set, you would be like, oh yeah, it's really hard to raise that money. Or I always tell people, every single department person should produce something once, like just once, because it would stop complaining. It would just, because when you know how much money it costs to raise something and like how much money it costs to feed people and all the little human things that we all need to feel comfortable, then you'll just have perspective and know, hey, yes, today we have eggs and it's not my favorite, but you know what? I'm just glad we have breakfast. It's just all these things, it's all about its perspective. So
Yeah.
that's why I love working with people who are multi-tools, who have seen all different sides of production. I love aiding for directors who come up through that because it's so easy, and it should be, because most directors who aren't like that want to fight with me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but the sun is setting in 5 minutes. I'm not the one making it do that. It's doing that. So like the time that you are arguing me that you have to have the shot the way it is, the sun is going away. You're not going to be able to do it anyway. So let's work together to figure out what's the best way to get your shot in some way that's similar-ish, that doesn't compromise your vision. So yeah, so I had such a great time working with you, Rylan, because I think something that I really loved is that there was also a mutual respect for, hey, sometimes other people also have great ideas too. So that was the really fun part, was like, I knew that I could talk to you and be like, hey, what if this? Hey, what do you think about trying this? And then so many of our crew members ended up accidentally going into the film. Like our production designer is a helicopter pilot and different things like that. But it's because as a director, you did a great job creating an environment that made everybody feel like their voice was important to be heard, to create this unified vision. That is a big part about good directing, empowering people to be able to speak their voice, to feel like they have an opinion, it's valued. So that I thought was super cool and great, why I had such a great time working with you on Big Decks, and why Big Decks turned out so awesome. And people will always remember how you made them feel, right? So if they had a shitty experience on a film, do you think they're going to want to share the film later? No. So make them have a great time, and they will be just as excited to share the film, to promote it and everything. When the trailer came out, I was like really looking forward to it. When the poster came out, I was so excited to share it. And of course, when the final video came out, I told everyone. So it was like, because I had so much fun on it. Yes, there were stressful moments, but that's just natural on any set that has a limited time and budget, which is every single set.
That's every set. Yeah.
Like that's every set. That's literally like 100% all sets. And I don't know, it was the part, I don't know, this, when you get to like Hollywood, you lose track of that sometimes, I think, because time is money, is time, whatever. And people get so serious because they want to do the best they can on their jobs and everything. But I think it's always important as the director or producer to create that environment of, hey, we're making movies and we're not curing cancer and nobody's dying. Let's do our best with what we have. Let's not break our backs. Let's be safe about it. And let's just have a good time, because essentially we are still, core of it, making movies with our friends. And that's what we want. That's the kind of environment we want to create. And you did a great job doing that, Rylan. And I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. That's so kind. I have to give a huge shout out to Production 4, Pro 4 out of Austin. all of the line producers over there,
I
I've been able
killed
to
it.
work with them on so many other projects, and they just bring the attitude to it, the experience that all the cast and crew interact with the producers first as they're
Yes.
booking them and everything. It sets the tone for it, and so they
Yes. Tone.
they did exactly that. Two things I'll say is, one is like, I there was I think it comes down to like communication, right? Because Christine, you were like, "Oh yeah, everybody's voice was heard and everything," and I just wanted to reiterate that it's not like we were having like the costume designer coming up and, "What if he said this line?" But what I mean by that is like every interaction that you have on set, it's what, less than 10 seconds. Hey, can you please go get me that? Or would you mind if manners are important, and engaging and being intentional and all of that interaction is so key. And then I think when it comes down to communication, so Adam, you were talking about a gaffer or someone being on set being like, why the hell are they doing it like that? Da, da, da,
Right.
da, da, right? From a director, from a producer standpoint, it would take 10 seconds over the comm system to be like, hey, we are pausing for 10 because we need mandatory costume change.
Right.
Over, like, just communicating that does so much for uniting the team and understand, oh, that's why we can't move this piece of equipment yet. And I went through a crash course, right? Because I was an officer in the Navy, and many of my deployments I took out. I had this one deployment I was in charge with 60 sailors, and I had a chop chain to communicate to. Are all 60 sailors safe and okay? And then I had to report that up the chain. So for me, that was my crash course in leadership and communication, because you never want to be the guy with the secret. And so I also learned the power of, hey, yes, they technically might work for me, but they work with me and I work with them. It costs me nothing to explain where we are in the situation. I make the decisions. I completely understand that, but I don't have to be a dick about it. And I can be a human being, because it's not a life or death situation. We're getting to create something that we love, and everyone's bringing their talents and skills. And I know I couldn't make it without everyone's help. A little bit of unity goes a long way.
Yeah. And you learn that too. Like, that's the thing. It's like a majority of the education for being an effective director. And it's so crazy how you go on shoots. And I've been on so many shoots where not even the first AD would communicate. For me, being a set deck, I work with the art director and that's it, or the production designer, and then that's it. But sometimes there would be every once in a while where things would change, and I would be like, what's going on? I can't talk to sound department and be like, what's going on? I mean, sound's going to look at me like, I don't fucking know. Shit. Like, things are changing. But to have that effective communication literally makes all the difference on a set. Like, it's almost like night and day, because then you're becoming frazzled and you don't know, are we moving on to a different setup? Are we flipping the world? What's happening? I don't know what's going on until it's too late. And then everybody is, we need art now. And you're just running in and just not a chicken with your head cut off. You just don't know what the fuck is going on. But when you have that little bit of communication, you just go, oh, boom, I already know exactly what I need to do. And okay, we moved on from this. All right, so then let's just take all this out and then move it to the other side. It's effective communication.
Whenever I teach or mentor people that are doing first ADing for the first time, I always tell them, pretend that you're talking to somebody who can't see what's going on, and that you're trying to describe to them because that happens a lot. A lot of people are not on set. Some people are in offices. Some people are outside because there's not enough room on set. So you have to reiterate things that seem obvious because you're on set, but not to everybody else who may not be. So always pretend you're talking to somebody who is blind, and then and make it as simple, stupid as possible. Instead of, if you can convey the same message in 5 words, do it in 5 words versus 20. That's a lot of practice to be able to allowing people to anticipate for their jobs. And that is the communication part of going in. And sometimes I don't say things on the walkie because I don't want to confuse other people. So I'll go kindly walk around and just be like, hey, just a heads up, we're going to be looking in that direction. And if you see me move all this other stuff, hey, when you have time, move this other stuff. Making sure people know, where are we? That's half of it. What are we doing? Because it's easy to lose track. Hey guys, we have 3 more shots left here. These are the 3 scenes. We're going to look in these 3 different directions. Then people know, oh shit, my backpack is in the scene. I can go move that, instead of like, we're about to shoot. Why is there a backpack in the scene? So like, just communicate and don't assume that because people are on set that they are actually on set and talking. So always talk to people as if they are blind and everything. But it was a great set experience, and I can't wait for more people to see Big Decks. They should. The link will be in our profile for sure. It's in our Facebook profile and everything. And now that you know what went into making it, everybody out there, you should share it even more, because it is a lesson in independent filmmaking, self-distribution, and how you should go about to, if you want to be a director writer, how you could go about making that a reality, just like Rylan.
Navy will beat Army, and not only just because we make better spirit videos, but
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, but thank you for being a part of this and talking about the whole process. I love learning about people's processes, because there's not one right way to get into this industry. There's a million different ways, and if some of our words of wisdom, or at least our experiences, can help anybody out there want to be inspired to make films or just start doing it, like, hopefully that's what Get Reelisms is all about. So,
and just to wrap this all up, ladies and gentlemen, we are still doing good housekeeping over here at the GetReelismsPodcast.com. Get your books.
Get Reelisms. Learn filmmaking the fun way.
Thank you so much,
Community
Rylan, for doing this. We appreciate your time. The little time you have in
Big
work
deck
mode.
mind.
Yeah. Big decks mind. Yeah. You got big decks on the mind.